These YouTubers are wrong. Ridiculously wrong, in fact.
I think we're more or less on the same page. So my definition would be informed consent, or reaching the age of consent, is where you're able to make decisions where you understand the long-term ramifications of said decision. That would be how I would look at it. Okay.
They've gone off on a stupid philosophical debate about the ability to understand long-term consequences. It's a thing they can't define or measure. They could debate this for thousands of hours and never accomplish anything. Others naively believe that the age of consent protects vulnerable minors from sex predators. It's a childish oversimplification, very far from the truth.
The age of consent laws are not meant to hurt young people, but to protect them from adults who may try to take advantage of someone younger than they are.
If those laws intend to protect young people, in practice they do not. Here's a lawyer describing the Illinois law.
And that doesn't matter how old the other person is. So if a 17-year-old boyfriend has sex voluntarily with a 16-year-old girlfriend, the 17-year-old could be charged with a crime. Likewise, 16-year-old boyfriend has sex with a 16-year-old girlfriend. 16-year-old boyfriend can also be charged with a crime, even though he's the same age as the girlfriend. And coincidentally, so could the girlfriend. She could be charged with a crime with having sex with her boyfriend who's under the age of 17, because neither of them are of the legal age to knowingly consent to the sex.
Illinois is not the only state to criminalize sex between consenting teenagers. New York can also imprison two 16-year-olds who made love, each for the statutory rape of the other. In California, all sex anyone under the age of 18 has is illegal. All of it. The age of consent is not a philosophical construct. It's a law. The age of consent doesn't protect anyone. It allows the authorities to arrest, prosecute, and imprison people for making love. Some viewers are very angry right now. They demand I say rape, and not call it love-making. So let's talk about rape. Traditionally, the word rape meant use of force or coercion to commit a sex act on an unwilling person. Rape laws punish rapists. But then there is, quote, statutory rape, unquote. This concept was invented to simplify the process. Young victims, like 5 or 10-year-olds, can be manipulated into believing that they consented to sex. So the law just declares that all sex with these very young people is legally rape. Children lost their right to consent to sex, but nobody cared about that. There was widespread belief that children are asexual beings, and so never wanted sex anyway. For all practical purposes, the age of consent is the age below which you are legally considered too stupid to say no. Age of consent laws do not protect you against rapists. They protect you against yourself. Against your own stupidity. Nobody doubts that such laws are necessary for real children. For 5 and 10-year-olds. But there are enormous problems when young adults find their sex lives criminalized. Over the last 100 years, various states have been slowly raising their ages of consent. Fewer and fewer young people have the legal right to control their own bodies. More and more young people are considered so mentally deficient that they are unable to say no to an offer of sex. More and more politicians are deciding who our young people can make love to, and whose boyfriend must go to prison. As laws more and more strictly criminalize teen sex, teens are growing up faster. These days young people are at Tanner stage 5, adulthood, around age 14. That's considerably younger than 50 or 100 years ago. Biological adulthood includes adult hormones, adult sex drive, and all the rest. Actively treating young adults like asexual children is a bad idea. And codifying that stupid mistake into law with draconian punishments is a catastrophe. The excuse for this abhorrent mistreatment of our youth is a widespread myth. People believe that sexual development comes a decade or more before mental development.
Part of the reason age of consent laws exist is because most adolescents develop armpit hair faster than cognitive competence.
There is zero evidence for this nonsense. But that brings us back to our YouTube philosophers and the ability to understand the long-term consequences of your actions. Skateboarding is dangerous. Do the tweens doing flips meters above concrete surfaces understand the consequences of a broken spine? Of course they do. Americans get driver's licenses at 16. Do they understand the ramifications of crashing a car? Of course they do. What are the consequences of sex? Pleasure, health, mental well-being. Oh, you mean the negative consequences. Pregnancy and sexually transmitted infections. Let's leave the abstract and focus on the practical. Just one example. Germany's age of consent is 14. Germany has half the teen pregnancy rate of the USA. It also has much lower rates of STIs. America's high ages of consent have not protected young people from negative consequences. In fact, it looks like they're causing the problems. Maybe the police and incarceration are not the solution to unplanned pregnancies. Maybe there are more positive things we can do for our young women aged 14 to 18 than lock up their boyfriends and brand them sex offenders for life. A few concrete things we could try: healthcare, sex education, and contraceptive access. Germany was just one example. It is not unique or exceptional. Many great countries with excellent standards of living have their ages of consent set at 14 or 15. We have practical examples of cultures that do not make laws telling their teenagers that they are too feeble-minded to say no when someone wants to have sex with them.